Okay, it is about that time, and I'll clean off my screen here. Now, as you can see, I have the cover of a book up on my screen. This is Craig Atterbury's Complete Guide to Perspective Drawing. I was told this book has everything I would ever want to know about perspective in it. I am finding this to be, well, let me put it this way. I haven't found everything I want to know in it. I am still confused, but I'm also not finished with the book. And it has covered a lot of things that I haven't seen anybody else cover, and it has covered them very, very well from almost precisely the perspective that I want these things covered from. So I am fairly happy with this book. And just like when we went and were going through Bern Hogarth's Dynamic Hands, I'm going to go through some stuff in this perspective drawing book. And a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at here, some of this is just like, I don't know how useful this is going to be to the viewer. But a lot of this has kind of, it's told me things, okay? Like, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some stuff as we're going through this. Now, what we're looking at here is kind of the idea of what perspective is meant to simulate, okay? You've got a square on the ground over here. Oh, there we go. So you've got a square on the ground over here. Oh my God, could I please get something that works? Okay. Let's use a slightly brighter color. There we go. Go with bright yellow. Whoa, I want a bright yellow. What the hell is going on here? Oh, it's because it's in multiply mode. Okay, never mind. Let's go to our flat color right there. Okay. So, so anyway, here's our square on the ground. Okay, and that square on the ground, when we look at it from wherever we're standing, okay, what we actually see is kind of this shape that's up here, because if it's farther away, it looks smaller. Things that are farther away look smaller. That's really all perspective is. All of the complicated stuff around perspective is exactly how much smaller does the thing look? That's all the complex shit. I mean, really, the only thing you're doing with perspective is you are drawing things smaller when they are farther away. Okay? And there are a couple of things that we can talk about here in addition. Like this right here, this picture plane. We have a notion whenever we have a picture plane like this. First of all, this kind of pyramid that goes outward across all of these lines here, okay? That is something, hold on. That is something that we call the view frustum, okay? And what's important on this is that as you get farther and farther away, eventually you get far enough away that you don't want to draw anything else. Okay, when things get too far away, you stop drawing them. And we call that the far clipping plane. My handwriting is awful, I know. And then we also have an idea of if something is too close, we are not going to draw it. So right up here, we have what's called the near clipping plane. Near clipping plane. We're only going to draw the things that sit between these two planes. That's all we're going to draw. We're not going to draw anything that's closer than this. We're not going to draw anything that's farther than this. And these clipping planes can be set wherever you want. You can set them infinitely if you want, but that's not always the smartest idea. And this again is the this visual pyramid is the view frustum. And then you have this given distance right here. This is important because this is what establishes your station point. But this is also important because what you have here is you have a right triangle that specifies how far your visual point is from the scene, from like the bottom of the scene. And this is just, I'm just going to kind of go over diagrams here. I'm not going to talk about the text in the book. Now, this just kind of underscores this. The farther away things get, the smaller they look. Now you've got the station point right here, and then you've got the elevation, which is how high above the ground the station point is. And the elevation is that elevation? Check. No, that's eye level. This is the horizon line. We've got the picture plane, we've got the horizon line, the station point, and the eye level. And the eye level is a distance above the ground level, or ground plane, which we're going to be looking at shortly. So we've got the station point, which is right here, and we've got the eye level, center of vision, which is also called the vanishing point, the horizon line, the picture plane. And you could see that this is kind of going through the individual terms bit by bit. Center of vision, we have talked about a little bit. There's a 60-degree cone of vision, which is where you can make things out clearly. There's about a 2-degree cone of vision where you can make things out very clearly. And then everything else is peripheral vision beyond this. And out here, stuff starts to get distorted, okay? There's some distortion in here, but not a whole lot of it. All of the real serious distortion happens out in this area. So it's a good idea for your picture frame to occupy this space right here and be mostly within that 60-degree cone of vision. It can go a little bit outside, but, you know, it shouldn't go that far outside of it. And there's kind of the thing. Now, you recall last time we were talking about this, I was saying that what you're actually drawing is a kind of window in the picture plane, okay? And here's your center of vision, or your vanishing point, and here's your station point right here, and this is your eye level and your horizon line, which are the same thing, basically. But notice that because you're looking at this window, that window can really be like anywhere. So it could be up higher, okay? That window could be up higher and your horizon line would be down lower. That window could be down lower, your horizon line is up higher, okay? But all of this stuff, what really matters here is that you're identifying the correct points for your viewer who's looking at a specific point, the center vision right here. But your window can be literally anywhere. You just identify your point of interest in the picture and you go, there it is. Your vanishing point doesn't have to be in the center of the window. It's in the center of the picture plane from the viewpoint of the observer, but it's not necessarily in the center of the window where the picture you're actually drawing is. A lot of this is just me talking to myself. It's not like... it's not intended to teach you much of anything, because I'm pretty sure you're not learning much of anything. But, yo, look at this. This is the important thing. This is the thing I need to understand is here's the ground and here's the measuring line. Now, in true scale, where this is what you're staring at, here's your cone of vision, all of that, your station point is down here, but your measuring line is higher up. Now, here's the thing. You can project your measuring line. You can project your measuring line backward, all right? So like you can draw that straight back, and you can just draw each of these straight back, and you can put your measure line wherever the hell you want, okay? That's where your measuring line would be if you wanted it to occupy this particular place on the picture. So you can mark this stuff off individually, and your measuring line doesn't have to be exactly here. This is kind of like a one-to-one thing. Like if that's 2 feet, that's 2 feet, that's 2 feet, then if that's 2 feet on the picture, it's also 2 feet in the picture, unless the picture's being drawn at scale. But you're measuring, what you really care about when you're drawing a picture is same angle and same length. Now, I do not always understand how these things fit together, but that's the important thing that you're concerned with, is same angle and same length. And understanding that, for example, everything that goes to this center point is actually a parallel line, okay? Because what you're actually seeing here is you're seeing the perspective representation of lines that are going straight back forever. Okay, these lines are parallel. They will never meet, but they meet at the vanishing point because things that are farther away look smaller than things that are close. That's the whole illusion that you're dealing with in perspective. You want something to look farther away, you draw it smaller. And you use various cues with the way that you draw the picture. If you actually want to draw like a small person, then you have to use individual cues to identify this person is not really far away, they're just really small. And there are ways that you do that I'm not going to get into in detail now, but you have to use other elements. Now this is something I've never seen covered anywhere, which is, you see here, as the viewer moves closer to the picture plane, okay, the width of what's on the picture plane doesn't change, okay? It still intersects the picture plane at the same place when it's up close. But you see that the back of it gets progressively, it looks farther away. And that makes sense because right here, okay, these distances change, and they change rather dramatically, but the distortion is very different. As the viewer gets closer to the picture plane, the width doesn't change here. It changes the shape, but it doesn't change the width. And here, as the picture plane gets closer, the size changes, but the shape doesn't. The shape is still the same. It's still an absolutely identical shape. You can put them on top of each other. They're the same, but their size changes. And then when you actually move the object behind the picture plane, the farther away you move it, well, this changes both the size and the shape. It changes both. So that's kind of interesting. I've never seen anyone cover this, and I don't know what good it is. But it does kind of bode well for this book. It really kind of looks like Atterbury has, at the very least, covered things that other people aren't covering. That is, in fact, what I'm looking for. And some of that is coming up here. So here we have examples of 1 point and 2 point perspective, and you can see that it's kind of showing the way that individual objects are seen flat onto a face. You're seeing the face flat on, and you're looking down along the sides, but these things are flat on. Whereas in 2 point perspective, you know, you're seeing along the sides. And then in 3 point perspective, you're not seeing anything flat on, okay? everything's kind of tilted. And you can see here that it's showing you're looking up or down, okay? But this also works. I mean, obviously, if we were to, well, but if this were rotated, okay, if we were to rotate this so the picture plane is vertical again, it could also be if the objects themselves are rotated. Like if you put the picture plane vertical up here on the top one, then it looks like these objects are rotated towards you. And that's a fairly easy kind of extrapolation to make. I'm just kind of talking to myself. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about here. So here's your station point. This is very important. This is what I was talking about last time. Again, never saw anybody else say this. Just kind of figured it out on my own. It rotates downward because this is difficult to work with. But this is not so difficult to work with. There's our station point. And then we've got the distance of the viewer to the picture plane. Well, that's one important piece, but also the eye level of the viewer. So we've got kind of the line of sight comes down, and you can see here, we've got the cone of vision. The cone of vision stays in the same place because when this rotates down, 60 degrees is still 60 degrees at the same distance. And then you draw that forward, and we're probably going to have that in a diagram fairly soon, which is the height, and then your measuring line goes here. Okay, your one-to-one measuring line would go there. Now that measuring line is what I actually care about, so I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on the other stuff that I'm looking at here. This is what matters to me, okay? Now here we are in single point perspective, okay? You've got the viewer to the picture plane right here. That sets your station point. And here you've got ground to eye level, and that is your measuring line. That's what we call the ground plane right here. So if each of these markings here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, if those are feet, then a 5-foot tall observer is 8 feet from the picture, and these are also 1 foot each. And we can kind of demonstrate that. This actually works. You can demonstrate that by using the ellipse tool. Oh. And we can go, okay, there's 5 up. And you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, close to 5. Very nearly 5. It's close. I don't know if that's because I scaled it improperly, or because the picture is sloppy, or whatever. Doesn't really matter. But it's this measuring line. This is the thing I don't really understand. This bit. And there's a particular issue with it where you're measuring different stuff, and these measuring lines do not make a lot of sense to me. But it's mostly when you get into 2-point perspective, because it's like 2 units to the right of the center of vision. Okay, that's just somewhere on that line. Everything on that line is 2 units to the right of center of vision and moving backward. Whereas, if we're going 3 units to the left, that means the distance at any one of these places, the distance here, straight horizontal distance, that's 5. We've just measured a 5 and we've projected it backwards in perspective. And I'm like, great. That's awesome. Now, the only problem is, what if I'm measuring 5 units along this? Well, the way you measure 5 units along this is you start off, well, it's measuring. If you're measuring 5 units along that, what you have to do is you have to project your 5 units to the appropriate angle here. And your measuring points come in, but those are at 45 degrees proper. And here's a measuring line. So if I come across like this, if I come across here like so, then that right there should be precisely 5 units back. Because your measuring line here, what we're doing, I understand in single point perspective, it makes sense. Because here we're going at a 45 degree angle, okay? Now, because we're going at a 45 degree angle, if I come up from here, if I do a 90 degree angle and then I come up at a 45 degree angle and I go straight back across that 45 degree angle, see, if I draw a line and then I draw a 45 degree angle from that line, that's not a 45 degree angle. But if I draw a perfect 45 degree angle from that line, then a 90 degree angle is going to cross that 45 degree angle at precisely precisely the same distance, okay? Because what we've got here, we've got a 90 degrees, we've got 45, we've got 45. This is important. So we've got these angles that match up. We've got a 90, and we know that we're working with a triangle. When you're working with a triangle, the angles of a triangle always sum to 180. So if that one's 90 and that one's 45, then that one also has to be 45. And if these angles are equal, then these sides are equal. And if these sides are equal, then these angles are equal. There's a thing that you do later on where you project the station point. You go from a vanishing point to a station point, and then you project that station point up to the horizon like so. And once you've projected it up to the horizon, you've now got an isosceles triangle. And because that's an isosceles triangle, this angle equals this angle. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's helpful. I feel like I'm banging my head against a brick wall here. Like, how is that helpful? Rotate it up like this. If you rotate it upward, and then you're looking down on the exact same thing. If you take this diagram and you rotate that triangle up, then you're projecting here. So you've got down here, you've got this one down here, and it's like so, and oh, okay, and these I don't know. I don't get it. This just doesn't make sense to me. I'm honestly trying to figure this out. And it doesn't make sense. I understand when it's 1 point perspective. It's 1 point perspective and you're dealing with 45-degree angles. I understand that by drawing a 45 angle from this vertex over to here, you can now create an isosceles triangle. And then by intersecting with the next measuring here, it's not 2 point perspective, so you're going for the measuring point here, and you'd be going, okay, going across like that, and then that. Wow, I am doing a bad job of precision on this, but yeah, I'm really not doing a good job. I'm trying to do precision work. Not. It's not coming out. Also, that's not a proper 45 degrees, is it? And that line needs to be like right there. Yeah, that's much better. That's just me being sloppy. I need to just pay more attention is all. And because this is a known distance, that's the known distance of 5, and that 45-degree angle sets that to a distance of 5. And then this 45-degree angle here sets this to a distance of 5. And because these two are parallel, that's also a distance of 5. So in 1 point perspective, all of this makes sense, okay? And I understand what the measuring line is doing, but I don't feel like that's what it's doing in the I don't feel like that's what it's doing. 2 point perspective. It's like it's a different problem. We're solving a different problem in 2 point perspective. It's not, and we're solving it a different way. But I feel like I get this. I feel like I understand this when we're working in 1 point perspective. Okay, if I have if I project over here and I just go, okay, I want to do something that is, I want to do something that's another 2 units long. Let's do that, and we'll go, okay, that'll be, okay, so that'll be there. And then we go from our measuring point over here, and we go, all right, that comes down to this corner, right here. And when it comes down to that corner and it crosses that line, then that is the same length. Wow, that looks really kind of Doesn't look like those are the same length. But then here, we go here, and that comes down here, and that should be the same length there, and that should be a square. Then, of course, you have the issue of, well, how far up do we need to go? But because this line is not foreshortened, we don't have to worry about that because the vertical line is going to be the exact same distance as the horizontal line. So we can just draw out a circle. And from that circle, we can just go, yeah. Center of the circle, out to the edge. These are the same length because they're the same length. And in the same fashion, we can come straight across there. You know, we want to get same length. So we just go circle tool. You have to constrain it to a circle, make it the appropriate radius. All done. Brush. First point. Second point. Flip. And then we close it off like so. And there's our square. And that gives us our perfect square. And because that gives us our perfect square, we can now go from here straight back to the vanishing point, and then straight back to this corner right there and come up from our corners here and here, which isn't really necessary. That one's hidden. And now what we've built is a quote-unquote perfect cube in perspective. That come across there. So yeah, that is ostensibly our perfect cube right there in single point perspective, drawn with the measuring points. And I get it because it makes sense. Because doing these 45-degree angles to locate the appropriate corners of a square, that makes perfect sense. And if I needed a different angle, I could just measure the angle that I need right here off of this. Like if I was like, oh, I don't want to go off at a 45-degree angle. I want to go off at a 30-degree angle. If I wanted to go off at a 30-degree angle here, I would just measure a 30-degree angle, and I would use that as my measuring point to go off to the side, and then that would dictate where exactly where I would cross the appropriate line, and that would give me the dimensions I was looking for there. So if you can identify a triangle on your shape, parallel lines, 90-degree angles, the 45-degree angle, using those you can construct just about everything. Anything else you need to construct, if you need to do a 30-degree line, then you go off at 30 degrees, you identify your line, and you just go, okay, I'm going to go at 30 degrees off of here instead of 45 degrees, and then that'll take you off at a 30-degree angle. So it's like you draw whatever shape you want, and you go, okay, well, what's that angle right there? Whatever that angle is, you could set yourself a measuring point, and that measuring point will tell you where to draw that to. So you can draw the same shape in perspective. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I understand that because it's easier, because I understand what the angles are and why we're using them. But there is so much stuff I do not understand. Like, this isn't one of the things I don't understand. This is the same thing I was just describing. You know, a 90-degree angle here, you look at it from above, it looks different. It looks kind of squashed when you draw it in perspective. So yeah, this is how you do that measure. This is how you use the measuring line. You go from your measuring point to your measuring line, and however many units you've gone, there you go. I have a noisy connection somewhere in my system. I don't know if it's even coming through on the. I don't know if it's even on the. It's not. My noise gate is catching it, so I don't need to worry about it. Ah. Proper audio filtering for the win. So anyway, you measure from your line here. You measure 4 over. And then you go from your measuring point, which is a 45-degree angle. You draw from the measuring point all the way over here. And now what you've got is you've got a 45-degree angle between this line and this line. And that means that these two lines, because you've got a right angle here, you've got a right triangle. So that's 90. The other two sides have to sum, the other two angles have to sum to 90. And since they're identical, since this one's 45, that one also has to be 45. And that means that these two sides are identical. And that gives us an isosceles triangle. So I don't even have any of this stuff for 2-point perspective in here. And there's the thing that I just went over, the vertical and the horizontal are the same in single point perspective. So it's not a problem. It's very easy to figure out. And you can project it backwards exactly the same way. And I've been using the circle tool to do that. Go from where you are, hold the shift key, put it at the right measurement, and you got it at the right measurement. There you go. That's the easy way to project that. Now we keep saying units, 4.5 units. 4.5 units are in the picture plane. Eye level is 3 units above the ground. So the distance from the viewer to the picture plane is 4.5 units. The distance between the horizon line and the measuring line determines the eye level. And I think this is where they actually confirm. No, not quite yet. But yeah, it's doing. Just, yeah, this is always Measure the width of the box. Measuring, blah, blah, blah. Yep, that's it's all of the stuff that I kind of grabbed out of the book so far, and I find this perspective stuff confusing only in certain ways. And the 1 point perspective stuff, not all that difficult. Now, what's difficult is when you get into 2 point perspective. Once you get into 2 point perspective, things start to get complicated. And I really feel like I need to understand this if I'm going to get a solid grasp on, the 3 point perspective. Because 3 point, that's going to be even fucking worse. Because that's, well, no. It's going to be the same thing. 1 point isn't that hard to work with. Wait, why? Why isn't... Why isn't 1 point hard to work with? It's because I understand how the angles fit together. I know what the angles are. It's when you get into your 2 point stuff. I have an illustration over here I was messing with. When you get into this stuff over here, okay? When you start working with 2 point perspective, some quick little shuffly things over here. This bigger still. Okay. So you've got over here, you've got your 2 vanishing points. Now, the whole thing that is confusing me is why the measuring point behaves the way that it does. No, this is the airbrush. That's the problem. There we go. Why does this isosceles triangle here okay, this angle here is still 90 degrees, okay, but this angle here, this angle is somewhat larger than 90 and is somewhat larger than 45, and this angle is somewhat smaller than 45. So well, actually, I think the way this is oriented, these are still 45 degrees. But it's this projection here to create this isosceles triangle. I don't understand why that works, because what we're doing here is we've drawn this bit here and this bit here, and we've drawn a door frame here, and what we're concerned about is we want to draw the door that fits in that door frame. So we want the door, which is going to be opened at this angle here, we want the door to be precisely as wide as the door frame. So in order for it to be precisely as wide as the door frame, we project the station point up along this circular arc until we get to the measuring point for the right vanishing point. And then we draw down from that until we hit that vertex right there. And having drawn down and hit that vertex, now from the other vertex, we draw a straight line, and wherever those cross, which is right there, that's our 1 point. And you can see that's what's been done there. The author has identified the 1 unit point, okay? Now, why? I don't understand why. Like, what are the angles here that we're representing? What is this angle that we're drawing here? Why is that the correct angle? How do we know that? And I'm just thoroughly mystified by this, because I mean, this right here, okay, that is parallel to this, and this is a vertical, which means it's at 90 degrees here, okay? And we've got our measuring line here, and this measuring line is arbitrary units. It doesn't matter what the units are. The only thing we care about is that we get something that's of equal length to this. Now, why does this point accurately measure? What if I did it the other way around? What if okay. What if, you can see I got some guidelines here. What if I went through down through that corner there instead? And then I would need a horizontal line there. Now, that should give us the same result. That should, is if we go from the measure, where those cross, that should come across and give us our that should give us our width right there, and that should be 1. And then that should mean that this right here, that would also be about, yeah, that's the same. So it does work going to either side. Because you can see that intersects, that the 1 would be right there, and that's where the vanishing point line intersects. So the proper width of the door is like right here. That's actually where we want the door to be. So go like that. Oh. So to be open kind of like that. No, this would in fact be larger. That much larger? I don't know. Something like that, though. But yeah, that does seem to work in both directions, which. So. Why? Why does that work? I don't fucking know. I just need to bang my head on this some more. I just need to figure out what exactly it is that makes this work. That is very frustrating. God. I've been talking about this shit for a month. Bought a half dozen books on this shit. Why don't I understand it? Oh yeah, it's because this is the first book I've had that even tries to explain this. I don't know, man. But that's close enough to our hour, so thank you for showing up as usual. Do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, hit the little fucking bell icon, all of that happy horse shit. And I will keep banging my head on this and see if I can't learn more and do more and I don't know, figure shit out. Okay, bye.